This video is about proportions, and the goal is I can solve for a variable in a proportion. Let's start with the review exercises. The directions say solve each equation. So for number 1, we have 10x minus 20 equals 4x plus 40. First thing I want to do is I want to move all of my x variable terms onto the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to move the 4x over by the 10x. So I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides. So I'm going to do the opposite of 4x, which is minus 4x. So 10x minus 4x is 6x minus 20 equals 4x minus 4x is 0, so that cancels. And then we have equals 40. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to move the number onto the other side of the equal sign to isolate the variable. So I'm going to add 20 to both sides of the equal sign. So now we have 6x equals negative 20 plus 20, that's 0, so that cancels. And then 40 plus 20 is 60. Next, I'm going to divide both sides by 6. And then I get 6 divided by 6 is 1, so we have 1x equals 60 divided by 6 is 10, so we have x equals 10. Number 2, we have 6w plus 24 equals a negative 10w. I'm going to move all of the variable terms onto the same side of the equal sign. So I'm going to move the 6y over by the negative 10y, or w. So I'm going to subtract 6w on both sides of the equal sign. 6 minus 6 is 0, so that cancels. Then we have 24 is equal to negative 10 minus 6 is a negative 16w. Then I'm going to divide by negative 16 on both sides. And we have w equals a negative 24 over 16. And then we're going to simplify that fraction. I could divide both the top and the bottom by 8. So then we're going to be left with negative 3 over 2. Let's talk about proportions now. A proportion is just two ratios that are set equal to each other. So think of two fractions that are set equal to each other. And to solve a proportion, what you want to do is you want to cross multiply. So if we had the two fractions or ratios, a over b equals c over d, we would want to cross multiply. So I would multiply a times d and set that equal to b times c. Let's look at number 1. Let's now try this. So we have 3 over y equals 5 over 8. So I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to do 3 times 8 and set that equal to 5 times y. Well, 3 times 8 is 24, and that's equal to 5 times y. Next, I'm going to solve for y by dividing both sides by 5. And then we have the fraction y equals 24 fifths. And we could leave it as a fraction. Let's try number 2 now. This one gets a little bit more tricky. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to do 24 times y plus 2. And I'm going to do 9 times 5. So when I multiply 24 times y plus 2, I need to be very careful that I'm putting parentheses around the y plus 2. We want to make sure that we're multiplying 24 by that whole term, both the y and the 2. So make sure you always put parentheses around any term that has a plus or a minus sign on it. So I did 24 times y plus 2. and I'm going to set that equal to 9 times 5, which is 45. Now I'm going to solve this equation. So first I'm going to distribute. So I'm going to do 24 times y and 24 times 2. So 24 times y is 24y, plus 24 times 2 is 48, equals 45. Next, I'm going to subtract 48 on both sides of the equal sign. Now I have 24y is equal to -3. And last, I'm going to divide by 24 on each side. And we get y equals -3 over 24. But we can simplify that fraction, so I'm going to rewrite this. -3 over 24. And I can divide both the top and the bottom of the fraction by 3. So -3 divided by 3 is a -1. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So our answer for this one is y equals -1/8.